Explaining design visions and process to clients can be quite challenging at times because it feels like sometimes we're just flooding them with so much information and there's so many things that we want them to understand quickly, such as how important it is to select the right finishes, like how this solution addresses a set of problems, and even how a minor change can lead up to tons and tons of revisions. I know, I feel you, we've all been there, but sometimes we just have to step back and ask ourselves, how can I make sure that my client and I are on the same page? Hello, I'm Hannah. I'm a self-employed interior designer based in Manila, Philippines. I have been in the industry for years now, so I'm here to talk about tips on how you can improve your communication and presentation skills, especially when it comes to explaining your design proposal and making intent and solutions clear to the client. I will be dividing these tips into 3 sections, so I will be also sharing the timestamps in case you just want to jump into a specific topic. So before we dive into that, I want to state off a fact that as designers, we have to remember and acknowledge that not everyone has the spatial skills to visualize and understand how measurement works. Spatial awareness is a learned skill that most of us designers tend to forget that not everyone has it. So what may seem obvious to us, like imagining what a 3-meter by 5-meter room looks like, may not be as easy to imagine for others. Design highly relies on visual content to explain how measurements work. So first, let's talk about how your plans and presentations can make things more easy to digest for your client. First things first, make sure that your furniture blocks are in the right scale. I know this is a basic tip, but I have seen a lot of furniture layouts reflecting furniture that aren't in the right scale. So this mistake usually makes the space look bigger than what they're expected to be, and for obvious reasons that would cause misunderstanding and would eventually lead to clients' disappointment. While furniture blocks definitely make our work much smoother and faster, this is a good reminder to actually check what you're putting into your work. Don't just put whatever block you find first, you have to double check, and even before plotting, you should already know what your client needs are so you can reflect the appropriate size of furniture in the space. Clients also really appreciate it when we try to take the extra effort to put things into context for them and make the plan more readable for them. Something as simple as using colors to zone out your spaces and label your areas can help your clients identify the areas much faster, and it's just more readable. This helps in visualizing how many people can use the space at once, how the traffic flow is like, and how wide or tight certain clearances are. And also make sure that your text is actually readable when it's printed out, because it's not just going to be for your client, it's also going to be for your team and the workers who will be reading these on site. We also have to consider that 2D plans may not be able to fully convey or picture how objects work together in a space, which is why the next tip would be present a simplified 3D first so you can build a reliable foundation. This is also called 3D massing. This is an efficient way to show the overall shape, size, and volume of the space and objects inside the area without focusing on the finishes and intricate details yet. So this is basically just your bare black and white models. So both the designer and the client can focus more on how the objects will relate to each other in terms of scale and proportion, and if there is already a sense of balance and harmony in the space. This is a great window frame to test out layout and ideas, and also to align with your client regarding their space requirements and expectations. When this is discussed first, it would be easier to move forward with the rest of the 3D visualization process because you can already see what works. And trust me when I say that this can potentially help in reducing the revision requests later on. Before I incorporated this into my workflow, I used to present the 3D images as the polished 3D renders already, but I have noticed that during presentation calls, the client tends to focus more on the finishes when it comes to analyzing feedback. So looking back, it makes me realize that if we present them as the polished form already, or like the fully rendered one, it gives them a lot of things to process. So there's a lot of things that we can overlook. And as designers, when you work straight to rendering your models, we all know that it would also take us so much time to do the revisions later on. The trick here is to provide bite-sized information to your client. Think of it as presenting your design intention as layers, where you can start off with building a strong foundation first, so it would be easier to layer the details one step at a time. In this case, if you have to modify anything, you don't have to start from scratch all the time. This would help both the designer and the client process information at a deeper level and makes the decision making easier. I've always been a firm believer that design is innately collaborative. It takes a whole village to make the design work, guys. Remember that. Which is why it is always important to involve your clients in the process as early as possible. Building trust starts off by being transparent, and you can start establishing that as early as your discovery call. I know that every designer out there has a system for their first inquiry call with potential clients, where we get to discuss the project details and requirements. But to make the session more productive, this is the perfect time to set clear intentions and expectations with your potential client. Start educating your client about what happens in between, because we all know that the design and build process takes a lot of time and it is extremely overwhelming. Remember that most of the clients do not know that yet. So it would be greatly appreciated if we already shed some light on it as early as possible. Aside from project technicalities, you can also discuss what it's like to work with you, what's your best edge, and what experience can you give as a designer. What are your client expectations and setup? These are technically what you need from the client in order for you to design efficiently. So for me, I have always been transparent and open with my potential clients that I would be needing their prompt feedback, and I would ask them a lot of questions during the process just to make sure that it's clear to me and everyone's on the same page, so we can avoid misunderstanding in the long run. I also tell them about my working hours, so that setting meetings and site visits would be scheduled accordingly, and that they would also know which time frame I can usually respond to their messages. And of course, ideally, please run them through your design process. Ideally, you should have like visuals to support this presentation. And again, remember to provide bite-sized information to your client about the phases of your design process and also your deliverable. I know that certain design phases can stretch on for long periods of time, but this is not a reason for you to ghost your clients. Make it a habit to set clear timeframes and update them every now and then, because the last thing you want to happen is for them to second guess your every move. Don't wait for them to send you a follow-up message. After every milestone, let them know what comes next so they don't feel lost every time. I also want to point out how important this is, especially in scenarios where there are project concerns that needs to be addressed. Please show up. Your clients would highly appreciate it if you are there helping them in problem solving. While it is our job to make the decision-making faster and easier for our clients, don't let them forget that their opinions are valued. It is true that we are the professionals and we know better on this field, but I hope that doesn't make you close the door from listening to what other people has to say. I have learned a lot from my client, like how a certain small detail can improve their quality of life. And hearing the perspective of what the actual users of the space value can help us grow as designers. I find it so interesting that there's so much to learn from every person out there. So please don't close the door on learning new opportunities and feedback from other people. As with every profession out there, I know ours has a fair share of jargons that we use often in our workspace. But this is also a reminder that using technical terms may cause confusion between you and your client. I know that some of us feels that it's more professional to use the technical term, and don't get me wrong, you can always educate your client about the right terminologies, but it's important to be cautious with the language you speak with your client. The truth is, it doesn't matter how profound you sound if the client doesn't understand a word you're saying. You have to explain matters in a way they understand. That doesn't mean that you have to dumb things down. It's more of bridging the gap. And that conscious effort makes you a better communicator. Knowing how to simplify the explanation and giving examples that make sense to them takes time to develop. Eventually, you'll learn how to adapt and read your client's reactions. Make sure that your client is actually following and that you guys are on the same page. Try to put things into context for them. By taking this extra step, they would feel more seen, understood, and they would definitely feel more confident about the choices that we're guiding them through. Design is human-centric at its core. It's a response to real people, and it's a huge factor on how it can affect their quality of life. Design should always be tailored to every person's needs or lifestyles and routines. So as an additional pointer to what I have mentioned about the plans and presentations earlier in this video, we have to go beyond explaining what we see on surface level if we want to provide more value to our work. We have to explain how spaces are meant to be lived and how design solutions can actually help in minimizing the daily inconvenience. We always have to listen first so we can assess how the design we're proposing can benefit the actual users of the space. You can explain a problem that they can relate to and how a solution can serve them. Try explaining that context through their lens. It helps to say how it can directly benefit them. And also a little reminder that these set of problems aren't only limited to what the client only tells you. The truth is, if you want to be a good designer, you have to be an observer, you also have to be a good problem solver, and you also have to be a listener who can spot any issues that your client may not even know that they have. Remember that as humans, we are pretty used to living with the limitations that we have adapted to. We are creatures of habit. So as designers, if we really want to improve their quality of life, we have to think outside the box, take note of your observations, and tailor it into the design. Spaces should be able to adapt and evolve with its users. As a way to humanize design, it shouldn't feel like it freezes a person into a specific moment of their life. It should be able to grow with them. Consider how you can make your design more resilient to the future, where the client can have, for example, the opportunity to convert this room into a different function or have a space where they can upgrade a certain piece. My dad also mentioned that it's also important to consider that repair work should be easily accessible to homeowners. It can be as simple as selecting lighting fixtures that you can easily replace on your own when the bulb's broken. Remember that design shouldn't be rigid, it should be accessible to the owner at any stage of their life. I want to end this video by saying that as designers, our work goes beyond the plans and renders that we present. If we want to make our design work, we have to be a better communicator, we have to design with empathy, and we also have to build authentic relationships with people we design for. I hope these tips give you a fresh perspective about our roles as professional interior designers, and if you have tried any of my tips or if you have anything to share, I would love to hear them in the comment section below. I hope you find this video helpful, and once again, thank you for being here, and I'll see you in the next one.
Maybe it doesn't have to be so bad, long as we've got each other.